Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations, where we've said basically, there is no mirror. What you're saying is a lie. But how do we go about proving it? Well, with a little bit of statement from our fuzzy memoried friend, Mr. Victor Kudo, seems to be accepted, for now. Let's see where this train goes, shall we? And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection!
Don't be an idiot, Trite. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from. Indeed, that's the point. Exactly. There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Trebian that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Mon Dieu!
Objection!
Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene, but he said he didn't touch anything.
Objection!
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary. In his own words, I did not touch anything else except the mirror. The mirror! He's melting. This is good. He's thirsty. This is bad.
Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day.
In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he could not hear?
Huh. You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, Trite, then this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction, Mayor. What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up.
Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer.
Yes, Your Honor. It's basically, if we believe the defendant wholeheartedly, then there's only really one situation that can take place. Or more to the point, should I hint and say, two situations took place. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. Mr. Kudo did not make a mistake, otherwise we fall apart. The ear doctor made a mistake? Well, that's a lie. He's got a prescription and everything. The victim was a phony. This case is riddled with contradictions. Yet there is one very simple answer that clears them all up.
And what is that?
The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events.
What?
Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter. A phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. An attempt at framing things. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. That's the barrels of fire noise, isn't it?
Order! Order in the court! Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom!
Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh?
What did you say, you young whippersnapper? Whoosh!
Trite. Are you saying that Mr. Kudo saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elg and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that? Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was... the serving girl brought him a Javatino, but she put something in it. That's the serving girl right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well.
It's so hard to believe, but...
there was one, and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Objection!
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? Yes.
It's true there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but it's also true the chef was there. He would have noticed that was happening. That's right. Well, witness, if your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct?
It's because he's an accomplice. To clear his own debts. Ooh la la, this is most difficult for me. Objection! No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You're under oath after all. Was there in fact a phony at Trebian that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened.
The defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day.
Ooh, oui. La victime, Monsieur Elk. He came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won the lottery, Mon Elk became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. How would she know what he was to poison him? No, there was no time for phony to do the acting. Well, obviously this happened at 2 different time frames.
Just so we're clear, there was no mayor in the restaurant after all.
Je vous demande pardon, forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly.
What you have just done is commit perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I will decide how to punish you later.
Oui.
You're going to jail, mate. For now, we will hear your cross-examination. Mr. Wright, if you please.
He took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination. Yeah. Essentially, this all leads back to the mob. You don't want to get in that kind of trouble. La victime, Monsieur L, he came to my restaurant alone. Was he alone at his table as well? Mais oui, I saw him from la kitchen. The defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears there was another man at the victim's table.
Objection!
Ha! Unfortunately for you, trite. Yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. You know, seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite.
What kind of coffee has he been drinking? It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet. Hearing May say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. Hold it! By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct? Oui, he comes often for my special coffee.
I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience.
Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime.
I said it was worth one sip, and nothing more.
So Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. Maybe we should. What time was it? How many minutes after? And what time was it? Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived? Essentially, this is the kind of thing that brings up another statement at this point, so if we don't get one, I'll try the other one as well. Oh no, I cannot remember, monsieur.
I believe we were told by a witness yesterday. The crime was reported at 2:25 PM by a kind of scary old man, sir. Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness?
The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived, so the victim must have arrived between 2 PM and 2:10 PM, no?
Just after 2, huh?
Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful!
I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? The time of day will be added to the witness's testimony.
Oui, monsieur judge. Everything I do it for you.
Merci bien. That's French, isn't it? Ha ha ha! I'm a French speaker fluent now.
It's like me saying I can speak French. Parlez-vous anglais? I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood. He's even humming a song to himself. He's probably singing this song. He's up there going... That's what he's doing at the moment. I remember the old man arrived not long after him, just after 2 PM. Now, this is probably an important statement in itself because we had to wrangle it out of him. And the rest of the statements don't seem too important, but I don't know what it really relates to, so it's time to check l'evidence. Obviously, maybe I can evidence that because he stole my Magatama. The git. Right. There was a couple of time things, actually. Thinking about it. Is that useful at all now? Can we just throw it away? That's probably going to be useful, that's for sure. Right, when the incident occurred, I broke the vase of my seat. I'm sorry. No, we don't want that. We don't want that. The time of death was between 1:30 and 2:30, so we've got a whole hour time frame. Anything else? Anything else? Well, we've got the calendar. On December 3rd, the day of the incident, there is a note saying, meet with the tiger. On December 3rd, okay. Not really working for you at the moment. Experience the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life every Monday at 1:30 PM. Got ya. Then what do we present to? We're presenting the millionaire radio flyer, basically, because the victim would have been there celebrating and then within 5 minutes died, but then Victor Kudo wasn't there if he was there after 2 PM. Can I present it to this statement?
Objection!
I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong. Koi? I don't even know how to pronounce that. What do you mean? At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio of his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week, they announced the winning numbers of the $500,000 lottery ticket. Oui, that must be la showman the elk was listening to. It's that dot that's scaring me.
Punctuation. I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright.
In the wrong place, basically. I wonder. You say the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 PM, correct? Oui, I'm sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I had just finished serving la lunch menu.
Get to the point, Wright, if you have one.
Our show is broadcast live at 1:30 PM, and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life.
It's on the air at 1:30!
Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 PM. Because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time. No! This victim we've been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum, catching a show that was already over. There's only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter, acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elks in Trebian that day. The real Glen Elk now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer. And a phony Glen Elk acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness. I wonder if he was red by any chance.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
Objection!
Oh, quite a performance, Trite. You're almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song.
What is this? Music Theory 101?
Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 PM. The phony elk is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain then where the real Glen Elk is?
I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court. However, at that time the real Glen Elk was already dead.
That's certainly the obvious conclusion.
Objection!
Thank you, Trite. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say.
What?
Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours? Can you explain where the missing corpse went to?
No. The missing corpse?
According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elk, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim? Ah! The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body?
Yes, Your Honor.
No conjecture, Trite. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden.
Evidence? What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden? I thought I had him with that contradiction. But he's turned it all around and backed me into a corner instead.
Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defense's theory and evidence. First, where was the body of the real Mr. L concealed?
Well, you can't dump it outside. There's like parks and streets and stuff. It's got to be inside the place, really. But if you think about who might be an accomplice, you might be able to guess where it probably was placed. It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Trebian.
Interesting. But where could a body have been hidden inside a restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. It's got to be in the kitchen then, really. The exact location where the body was concealed inside Trebian, the only place that's supposedly off limits. La kitchen.
Take that!
The cucina! The body was hidden here!
I see. Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location?
Oh, we got to provide evidence now. Okay. Well, I was going to check through, but I think that's it. Found in the kitchen, unidentified fingerprints. In a place it shouldn't have been, with a bag that was empty at the crime scene. It's fallen out. That's why it's there.
Take that!
Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle? No. I have never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use the very best bottles, monsieur. The highest quality only for me.
Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright?
Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Trebian. Eh? Quoi? But I only ever use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils. But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication.
What kind of medication?
I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? And Mr. L visited an otolaryngological clinic and was given medication that day. Otolaryngological. Thank you.
You can't be serious.
The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have the lab results here. The contents of the bottle matched the prescription that was given to Mr. Elg. Glenn Elg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen? Mon Dieu! Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, you were setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back. No!
Order! This is an extraordinary development. A witness, did you murder Mr. Glenn Elk?
Never! I could not do such an horrible thing. No! It's powering up.
Mr. Godot! The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules.
Do you have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now?
Then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear, my H-deficient friend?
What? Je vous demande pardon! Please, you must hear me out! Ah, H-deficient, yes. I get it now. It is a trap! Listen to me, por favor!
Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong, and por favor is Spanish.
What? That completely messed up my voice for him so much I've punched the mic again.
I'm only going to ask you once. Did you do it?
No! Absolutely no!
Let's hear it. You've got one shot, right, Gramps? Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you, as does my gavel.
Oui, it is clear. What do they always say in the movies? I've got a bad feeling about this. I don't have a bad feeling about this. This is just being cleared up.
Very well. Begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong.
So the confession begins. Well, with that said, and as the text appears, we'll get to it. Next episode. Join me then for more Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. And I'll see ya.
Bye-bye.